1. In my book of memory, in the early part, where there's little to be read, there comes a chapter with the rubric, "The New Life Begins." It is my intention to copy into this little book the words I find written under that heading, if not all of them, at least the essence of their meaning. 2. 9 times already since my birth, the heaven of light had circled back to almost the same point, when there appeared before my eyes the now glorious lady of my mind, who was called Beatrice, even by those who did not know what her name was. She had been in this life long enough for the heaven of the fixed stars to be able to move a 1/12 of a degree to the east in her time. That is, she appeared to me at about the beginning of her 9th year, and I first saw her near the end of my 9th year. She appeared dressed in the most patrician of colors, a subdued and decorous crimson, her robe bound round, and adorned in a style suitable to her years. At that very moment, and I speak the truth, the vital spirit, the one that dwells in the most secret chamber of the heart, began to tremble so violently that even the most minute veins of my body were strangely affected. And trembling, it spoke these words, "Here is a God stronger than I, who comes to rule over me." At that point, the animal spirit, the one abiding in the high chamber, to which all the senses bring their perceptions, was stricken with amazement, and speaking directly to the spirits of sight, said these words, "Now your bliss has appeared." At that point, the natural spirit, the one dwelling in that part where our food is digested, began to weep, and weeping said these words, "O wretched me, for I shall be disturbed often from now on." Let me say that from that time on, love governed my soul, which became immediately devoted to him, and he reigned over me with such assurance and lordship, given him by the power of my imagination, that I could only dedicate myself to fulfilling his every pleasure. Often he commanded me to go and look for this youngest of angels. So, during those early years, I often went in search of her, and I found her to be of such natural dignity and worthy of such admiration that the words of the poet Homer suited her perfectly. She seemed to be the daughter not of a mortal, but of a god. And though her image, which remained constantly with me, was love's assurance of holding me, it was of such a pure quality that it never allowed me to be ruled by love without the faithful counsel of reason, in all those things where such advice might be profitable. Since to dwell on my passions and actions when I was so young might seem like recounting fantasies, I shall put them aside, and, omitting many things that could be copied from the text, which is the source of my present words, I shall turn to those written in my memory under more important headings. 3. After so many days had passed that precisely 9 years were ending since the appearance just described of this most gracious lady, it happened that on the last one of those days, the miraculous lady appeared, dressed in purest white, between 2 ladies of noble bearing, both older than she was. And passing along a certain street, she turned her eyes to where I was standing, faint-hearted, and with that indescribable graciousness for which today she is rewarded in the eternal life, she greeted me, so miraculously that I seemed at that moment to behold the entire range of possible bliss. It was precisely the 9th hour of that day, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when her sweet greeting came to me. Since this was the first time her words had ever been directed to me, I became so ecstatic that like a drunken man I turned away from everyone, and I sought the loneliness of my room, where I began thinking of this most gracious lady. And thinking of her, I fell into a sweet sleep, and a marvelous vision appeared to me.